David Berlow. I'm the president of the Font Bureau and a type designer for 30 years. Print is a wonderful, stable medium, and it turns out that the web is a wonderful, unstable medium. But I think it's also true that people who design for print are very stable people. People who design for the web are more prone to earthquakes.
What's an earthquake?
Changes in technology, changes in user habits. People who tend to publish things in print tend to get their information up front, and then they've made their decisions, and then they're done. People who publish on the web are almost living in an eternal focus group that just keeps going round and round. Start out with answering all the questions that people want on the web. A little while later, two things can change, and everybody's got another idea of what's right and what's wrong. Font formats are like this. Everything's changing. It's a very interesting environment to design type in, because you can. It's more like you're working with a puppet than with an actor that you actually train and send out there to do things. The type on the web is continually needing to be improved. I think over the next 2 or 3 years at least, we're going to see a lot of fonts revving and re-revving to keep up with the process. Much more enthusiastic. A year ago, I was in a state of utter and complete denial. I was the king of denial, and the reason for that is because there just wasn't enough common ground between the technology people and the type people. But we've moved much closer together in that year, because they've listened to us and they understand the complexity of putting hundreds, thousands for our company, and globally hundreds of thousands of unique visual identities into this environment is something that I don't think that most of the people involved in the Web Consortium really understood. They met up with some fairly extreme type designers and then backed off a little bit, and then they met some more moderate type designers who said the extremists weren't so extreme. And so they got it sort of from a broad spectrum of type developers that this is not something that is trivial. It's not as trivial as just publishing an at font face, specification saying, okay, now all the fonts in the world are ready for the web. And unfortunately, there's a huge free community out there that I completely embrace and I completely understand, and I completely agree with the notion that lots of stuff on the web should be free. But then again, if everything's free, then it's not a place where people want to invest in unique visual identities. So they've understood, I think, that you can't just assume that there's no economic model just because the web itself has no economic model and the browsers themselves have no economic model, and most people who design websites barely have an economic model. It doesn't mean that the font industry has to come in with no economic model too. Well, as people already know that I'm opposed to the EOT format, because it requires that we make our PostScript embedding bits repurposed for web serving, which I consider to be a failure in technology. That we would have to say, here's our library, we're licensing it for people to make PDFs, but those fonts also are saying to people that they can be served on the web, and those are two completely different things. Microsoft and the World Wide Web are working on changing both the name, because it's not embeddable and it's not OpenType, and also some of the functionality of it into CWT or CFT or something like that. Another name, and they're burying the part of the specification that, in my opinion, is a violation of the digital Millennium Copyright Act. So that's the only thing that I'm opposed to. We're going to support whatever is required of our users. If our users want to address every single browser, then we'll address every single format those browsers require. This will not be done by them, it'll be done by us. Because we license designs, we don't license formats. It's always been like that.
Great.
And now, chicken.
Okay. Thank you.